My name is Wendy Dixon. I am 32 years old. Just 3 weeks ago, on our parents' 40th wedding anniversary, my parents got up in front of 30 guests, saying, "We are taking the whole family to Hawaii for another celebration next week." Applause followed. My sister shrieked with joy. I smiled and already fantasized about palm trees and ocean breezes. My first vacation after a long while. However, my question, "What time is our flight?" seemed to put my family into a trance. They looked at me as if I spoke a strange language. So, in front of 30 witnesses, my father announced the following: "You don't need to know, Wendy, this trip is not for you. Someone should be staying and taking care of the children." 30 pairs of eyes. 30 people who witnessed how my family officially declared me to be non-family members. Here's the part that they did not know. I had a secret. Something that I had been developing for 3 years. It became clear to me that night that it was time to use my secret. If you enjoyed reading, take some time to like, subscribe, and in case this story resonated with you, leave a comment below telling me where you are watching from and what time it is there. To understand why I decided to quit the life which I knew, let me take you on a walk through the history. The Dixon family lives in a white colonial-style house in suburban Boston. There are 4 bedrooms, 2-car garage, and lawns that look perfect, according to homeowners association rules. The kind of house which screams loudly that we made it to anyone passing by. Harold Dixon is a former branch manager at a regional bank and retired 3 years ago. My mother Patricia was never employed, but will make sure you learn that she works harder than any CEO. Patricia chairs many committees of a church she attends and is always busy raising funds for various community projects and, as she herself says, protecting our reputation. There is also my sister Megan, 3 years younger than me, married to Derek Hartley, a successful corporate attorney at a prestigious downtown firm whose name she mentions often. She gave birth to 2 lovely kids, a 5-year-old boy named Oliver and 3-year-old girl named Sophie. They bought themselves a brand new Lexus SUV, which always ends up getting the best spot in the driveway. The car that I get parked on the street. "Wendy, can you move your car?" My mother would shout every time I would come home to visit them. Derek is coming with the Lexus, and guests always notice the car. I never argued. I just obeyed because when you have an invisible presence within the family, you start accepting certain things without questioning, like having to park your car on the street, the better parking spot for Derek's wife and kids, or a nicer seat at the dinner table, or hearing your own sister introduced to guests based on the job of her husband while you remain Wendy who helps out. I work part-time as an accountant, mostly serving remote clients. With flexible working hours, my income is average. According to the Dixon family standards, nothing to boast of. However, my family did not know about another occupation which I took up 3 years ago and taught myself how to see. Here is how the concept of helping out usually plays out in the Dixon family. Thanksgiving dinner. I arrived at 6 in the morning to cook a turkey, set the table with Wedgwood china, which I am allowed to wash only, placed the flowers, polished silver cutlery, coordinated the timing of preparation of 7 side dishes. Megan arrived at noon in a cashmere sweater, kissed everyone, sat down, and was waited on. Another Christmas coming. Same drill with wrapping up all the gifts my mother purchased since she's having a bad arthritis day. Oddly enough, nothing keeps her from playing bridge 3 times a week. My niece and nephew's birthday parties, where I am the entertainment organizer, the janitorial staff, and the backup babysitter in one. Last year, I spent 8 hours managing Oliver's dino-themed birthday party as Megan received a manicure because she needed a little downtime. The only time I dared to ask whether maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't have to attend a family gathering since I had a deadline for a client, the tone of my mother's voice turned ice cold. "Family always comes first, Wendy. We all make sacrifices. Except that I'm the only one who ever makes any. The point comes in small incidents, such as the year I received my Christmas present, which was a kitchen apron with "World's Best Aunt" written in glittery letters. Megan presented that gift. With a broad smile, she looked pleased with herself. I used it every time I visited my family to cook, clean, and babysit. I used it. Curious about knowing when did it dawn on me? It happened on an ordinary Tuesday evening while I was cleaning up the lacroix pot once again after one more family dinner. I couldn't recall the time anyone had invited me to someplace where no work would be expected from me. Everything changed 3 years ago. For 4 years I dated a guy called Kevin. We discussed marriage and kids and our future together, until one day he took me aside and confessed the following statement: "I love you, Wendy, but I don't think I'm in love with you anymore. You're just there, you're always just there." Then I stumbled into a local pawn shop. Again, I can't explain the reason behind such behavior. This is where I spotted the camera, Canon DSLR, in mint condition but sold for $180. I spent my money on buying it instead of putting it away. Nobody knew about that purchase. That's where my secret started. With my new passion of shooting the pictures of things usually ignored by others, I photographed elderly women sitting at the bus stop, the faces of nighttime janitors, calloused hands of street vendors, people invisible to society. In the same manner my family treats me, I called my project Invisible Women, created anonymous Instagram account. No face, no real name, just pictures. Over 3 years I managed to gain over 12,000 followers. I kept the camera covered in my old cashmere scarf hidden in the back of my wardrobe. The camera became something nobody else would ever get from me. Before my parents' anniversary celebration, I got an email I nearly labeled as spam. I read the message from Coastal Light Gallery in Monterey, California, who asked if I would consider discussion of my work with their team. Staring at my phone for 20 minutes with shaky hands, I decided not to respond immediately. Because miracles just didn't happen for people like me. There's a person in my family who sees me for what I really am. Her name is Ruth, and she is my mother's younger sister. Aunt Ruth is how my mother refers to the whole family disappointment. Never got married. Preferred to follow her passion for ceramics instead of having a job. 20 years ago, Ruth moved to Carmel by the sea, opening a cafe with a pottery studio in the backyard. For that, she got no forgiveness from my mother. Ruth abandoned her possibilities for the sake of her passion. According to my mother, Ruth should have had a successful career if she hadn't wasted her life playing with clay. I've been calling Aunt Ruth every Sunday night for 7 years. My mother remains unaware of that fact. The only person who first saw my photos was Aunt Ruth. When I sent her just one of my photos, she responded to me in such a way that I cried. "Wendy, this is amazing. You are gifted. Nobody called anything I do extraordinary before." She was the one to motivate me to continue taking pictures and posting them online. Aunt Ruth also said something 3 weeks before my parents' anniversary that would change everything in my life. "Wendy, I do not think you would mind, but I forwarded your Instagram account link to Marcus Coleman. He is the owner of a gallery in Metairie whom I know personally. He is searching for artists right now." Marcus Coleman? I almost fell down the stairs because of the surprise. "I know, honey, he told me that he wanted to speak with you about your solo exhibition." I stood silent, my heart beating fast, "But you should understand this is real. It is a real career opportunity, it surely is." Aunt Ruth sounded kind and calm, "And you deserve it. No one can forbid you to follow your dreams and desires. I am sorry I realized it too late. You will not." That day, I answered Marcus Coleman's email. "Tonight, I will take you back to the night which became the turning point in my life. My parents' 40th wedding anniversary. An occasion for a celebration, in my mom's opinion, which means 30 guests, catering, which I would arrange for some savings, and an unforgettable night dedicated to the celebration of perfect marriage of the Dixon family for 40 years. The preparations took me a week long to make. I took 3 days off work and assisted with all the arrangements. I ordered some white roses and pays, as required by my mom. I handwritten 60 place cards in calligraphy. I coordinated with a caterer, ironed the tablecloths, and polished the Waterford glasses that served our family for 40 years. At the time of my parents' anniversary celebration, I came at 7 in the morning. I put on jeans and a t-shirt as I did not see the reason to wear fancy clothes since I would spend the whole day in the kitchen. At 6 p.m., everything became perfect. The candles burned at all surfaces, the living room table covered in my mother's most expensive china, and the dinner was ready for 30 guests. Then I had dressed into my favorite black dress. Not fancy and not eye-catching. "Wendy?" Mom's voice stopped me in the middle of the hallway. She looked at me frowning. "This is your dress? It is black and I thought it was appropriate. It is fine, I guess, but try to stay out of sight. Wendy, today is about your father and me." I smiled. I always nodded to her orders obediently. Guests arrived at 7. Men in sports jackets, women in cocktail dresses, former workmates, church friends, neighbors with equally neat lawns. They all considered themselves good-to-know Dixon family members, but none of them knew me. And in 3 hours it would stop to matter anymore. At 7:15, Megan entered the hall with full force. In a bright red wrap dress, Diane Vonfenberg, she proudly announced in front of everyone. With Derek and 2 perfect children, who looked more like dolls than ordinary kids, right behind her. Mom hugged Megan enthusiastically and began praising her beauty, handsome husband, and cute grandchildren. I stayed in the kitchen doorway serving a tray with bruschetta. "Everyone, do you remember my daughter Megan and her husband Derek?" My mom introduced them to everybody. Derek is a partner at Whitmore and Associates. They promoted him to partner last year. Applause, smiles, congratulations. Mom never pointed out the fact that it was me who did Derek's taxes for the past 3 years, free of charge as usual. I was serving hors d'oeuvres, pouring wine, and answering questions of people whom I did not know from Adam. "Are you from the catering service?" asked a woman, and grabbed a crab cake. Before I got the chance to reply, my mom appeared next to me. "Oh, this is Wendy, my other daughter. She's helping tonight." She smiled nicely and walked away. Mom didn't realize that. She never realized that. Once Derek brought Sophie and Oliver. "Hey, can you take care of them? Megan and I want to network." "Not would you mind?" "Not thank you very much. But just can you take care of them?" Like putting down their suitcases for them. I took them, fed them, wiped Sophie's face, because she spilled juice on her dress, told Oliver 3 bedtime stories so that he wouldn't go into the living room and spoil everything. And when I came out, people were already having dessert. I hadn't eaten anything all day long. No one thought about saving me a plate of food. At 9 p.m., right after my mom's tiramisu was served, Dad announced an official announcement. He tapped his champagne glass with his fork, and the room became silent. 30 smiling faces waited for his announcement. "Patricia and I want to thank all of you for coming here today." Dad started speaking in his rehearsed voice. 40 years of marriage, 40 years of building our family, our lives, and this house. Mom glowed next to him. Megan squeezed Derek's hand. I was standing near the door of the kitchen with my dessert plate in my hands, and in order to celebrate this milestone we have an announcement, Dad continued. There was a pause. Then he announced, "Next week we are flying all of our family members to Hawaii, 1 week in 4 Seasons Hotel on Maui Island. Just us, the Dixons." The room was filled with pleasant murmur. "Wonderful. Such a present. Such a treat. You two deserve it." "Dad, it is so great. Kids will be happy to see Hawaii," exclaimed Megan and made her squeal. I felt that something in my heart lifted. All of us. The whole family meant me too. For once I wasn't going to cook, clean up the mess, and watch the kids. I was going to be included. I took a step forward and tried a smile. "It sounds so great. When is our flight?" People looked at me confusedly and awkwardly, but I couldn't stop there. Dad coughed quietly. "Because you do not need to know when the flight leaves," he said, and fixed Mom with a glance. Something happened between them, the look which I saw before 1,000 times. But only now I understood what kind of look it was. "Wendy," Dad addressed me seriously, "you do not need to know the flight time." "Why?" My voice sounded strangely loud. "Because you're not going on vacation," Dad said, and people stared at him with wide eyes. "Someone should stay at home," added my mother, as if she said something obvious. "Megan and Derek need a little relaxation." "That means that you will watch the kids." "Don't you worry, Wendy, you've been watching them since Oliver was born." "I'm sorry, Mom," I interrupted her. "But I started Wendy?" "Honestly, you sound like you're trying to convince yourself, Mom." My voice sounded bitter. "You've got nothing to do. Megan works hard. She deserves to get a little rest." Megan, who didn't work for as long as I know. Megan, who hires a nanny 3 times per week and says she is tired. Standing there in my plain black dress, holding a plate of dirty spaghetti, watching 30 people watch me be dismissed from my own family. Some seemed uncomfortable. Others simply turned their faces away. A woman, I couldn't catch her name, leant to her husband and whispered. I didn't catch what she said, but I understood the gist, poor thing. She must be used to it by now. Holding that champagne glass in my hand felt more impossible than usual. So with the plate and the glass set down. "Of course," I said. "I understand." My mother's forced smile. I forced my own. The smile that I'd been practicing for 32 years. The smile I use when I help out, when I do everything I'm supposed to do, when I never complain about any of it. This time I'd smiled too much. Something broke within me, not completely but just enough for me to crack and start making other kinds of plans. The party continued without me. As expected, they continued without me. I remained in the kitchen, washing dishes, while the laughter and conversation wafted through from the living room. For a brief moment, Megan emerged from the living room. "Wendy," she said, gently touching my arm. "Don't worry about it, you understand, right? Derek and I really need this time. It's been really hard with the kids lately." I continued washing. "Yes, I understand. In addition, you seem to think that I will hardly miss you guys, because you know how good I am with Oliver and Sophie. I rinsed a glass of champagne and placed it into the drying tray, silent. Megan sighed the way she always does when she thinks I'm acting stubborn. Look. A week isn't very long. You don't have a boyfriend or anything like that, and your schedule is quite flexible. Flexible, that word again. Flexible as if my time doesn't have any value just because I choose what to do with it. Well, Derek has listed our schedules, including food restrictions. Sophie can't have strawberries anymore, remember? And then there's something with Oliver's ear, maybe drops. I'll text you all the information. She didn't ask whether I'm willing, she just assumed. And that's when Derek appeared. All sorted, he said, loosening his tie. Great, we're going to pack and depart tomorrow morning. Megan, your mother would love some pictures before we go. And with that, they disappeared. Before I could say anything. Not that I would. I wouldn't have either. Yet, standing there in my mother's kitchen and looking at a text message detailing every instruction I was to follow on behalf of Megan and Derek, just one thought crystallized in my head. They don't see me as family, they see me as employees, and employees can resign. Finding the files was easy. Almost midnight, no more guests to deal with. Parents in bed after accepting 40 years of congratulations. Alone in the living room folding tablecloths, thinking that perhaps I should send a file to one of my clients who has been waiting on my decision for this particular project. My laptop is at home, and my mother's is sitting on the kitchen table. She won't mind. No, not a problem. I used my mother's laptop often. My mother used my stuff even more often. Opening her laptop, I discovered that Safari is already open, and my mother's Gmail account was still logged in. It should have occurred to me to close everything, to stay off of other people's devices and respect their privacy. But I did it anyway. It was the discussion between my mother and Megan, 1 week before the family party. Patricia Dixon to Megan Hartley, keep Wendy here to look after the kids. She does not have anything to do in her spare time. Derek was right. It's as if we have some free help. She should appreciate that we provide her with something to do. And then the reply from Megan, totally agree, Mom. She will most likely appreciate feeling herself as someone useful. Actually, it's rather sad to say it, but we benefit from it somehow. I read these words several times to understand them. Free help, she should appreciate it. Rather sad. I made screenshots, sent emails to myself, then deleted my email from the sent folder and cleared the browser history. Finally, I sat in the dark kitchen of the house I grew up in, and fully comprehended who I was to them. I came back home at 1 a.m. My apartment was tiny, a one-bedroom flat in the building built in the 90s. Beige carpet, white walls, secondhand furniture. My mother once called it depressing when she visited, but it was my place, the only place where I felt comfortable. I sat in the dark for quite some time, looking at my phone. The message from Marcus Coleman shone brightly on the screen, the one I responded to and forgot completely. There had been some messages about the possible meeting. He wanted to see my entire portfolio personally. He was very enthusiastic about the series I created. I could go. I could really go, so I picked up my phone and called the only one who would understand me. Aunt Ruth picked up the phone after 2 rings, despite it being midnight. What's up, Wendy? I told her everything. About the announcement, about the embarrassment, about the emails. I only cracked once when I read these words, free help. When I finished speaking, I heard complete silence on the other end. Then my aunt said something that I will never forget. Wendy, I have an extra room above my cafe. Also, I need help with the morning shift in any case. And that gallery? It's 20 minutes away from my place. Aunt Ruth, I cannot simply... Yes, you can. You can finally leave that place and choose yourself for once. Only yourself. Only you are holding yourself back. I hung up at 2 a.m. By 6, I started packing. 3 suitcases, my camera equipment, my laptop, a cashmere scarf that was a wrapping of my Canon. For 3 years, I left behind the world's best aunt apron. For the first time in 32 years, I chose myself. If you made it this far in this video, I would like to ask you something. Did you have to choose between your family and yourself? Did you find yourself standing in front of such a crossroad that the decision to stay in it meant losing your identity? Leave your answers to the question in the comments below. What would you do? Would you stay and endure this pain? Or would you leave and choose yourself? And if this story moved you, please hit the like button below. Now, listen carefully to what happened when I told them I was leaving. 2 days before our family's Hawaii trip, I went to my parents' house for the last time. My mother was organizing the outfits for the vacation. Megan was sitting on the sofa, checking the reviews of the resort we were going to. Maybe making work calls. My father was sitting in his armchair and reading the paper as usual, his presence physically yet mentally absent. "I need to tell you something," I said from the doorway. My mother barely raised her head. "If it's about the schedule of the children, Megan already sent it to you." "It's not about that." I calmed down myself. "I won't watch the kids anymore. I won't be available." This phrase caught all of their attention. Megan immediately raised her head. Mother's hands froze over the stack of sundresses. "What do you mean, not available?" My mother asked. "I have a work opportunity in California. I'm leaving tomorrow." "California." Father lowered his newspaper. "What kind of work opportunity?" "Professional. Something I've been working toward." I did not owe them any explanations. "Megan, you cannot be serious," said Wendy. "I'm counting on you. We all planned for this." "You planned for this, without me, without asking me," I said softly. "I'm not canceling my life just because I assume that I did not have any until now." Nobody dared to answer. The only sound in the room was the ticking clock. Then Mother stood and said calmly and with anger, "This is incredibly selfish, Wendy. Megan needs your help. Family comes first." "Family comes first," I echoed. "Except when it comes to inviting me to Hawaii." Mother opened her mouth but remained speechless for a change. Patricia Dixon had no words for me that day. Father cleared his throat. "If you leave now, don't expect to be welcomed back here with open arms." "I understand," I whispered, and for the first time truly understood. Next 24 hours will be remembered as an example of the emotional blackmailing. Mother called me 6 times. "You're tearing this family apart, Wendy. I hope you'll be able to sleep tonight knowing this. Your father is heartbroken. He hasn't even finished his dinner." Megan cried all evening. "The kids keep asking where Aunt Wendy is going." "And I need your help, Wendy," Megan called. "I'm your sister. Don't you love us anymore? You must feel terrible about this decision," she added. Then came the message that brought tears to my eyes. "You will end up alone one day, just like Aunt Ruth. Do you want this?" I stared at my screen. Remembering Aunt Ruth just like my sister wanted me to this was supposed to be an insult. This was intended to scare me, to remind of my aunt. But Ruth had her job, her art, her business, and her life that she had created with her own hands, and she was happy. Maybe being like Aunt Ruth is not what I should be scared of. Maybe I should see it as a promise. So I disconnected my phone and spent my last night at Boston in my empty apartment. 3 suitcases by the door. Everything else stayed there. Secondhand furniture, beige carpets, this life that belonged to everybody except me. I taped the spare key to an envelope and left it under my landlord's door. Month-to-month lease. Paid until the end of January. Easy break. I loaded my car early in the morning. My Honda Civic. 10 years old, but as faithful as ever. The same car that my mother had been ashamed of for years. This car will carry me to a better life, and I will not look back. The trip from Boston to Carmel by the sea takes 45 hours if you rush, which I did not intend to. It took 5 days for my car to go across America, passing through motels, dining at small diners, sleeping at roadside parking lots without any witnesses. One day, in Nebraska, my car stopped in front of a rest area, and I watched sunset on the endless fields painted in golden and pink colors. I took a picture. First picture taken as a free woman. In 3 days my phone buzzed. "Megan." It was not an emergency. I had switched the phone off thinking I won't see anyone anymore. I turned it on to check direction. Message said, "Mom says that if you're not waiting for us at home when we come back from Hawaii, you're dead to her." I read it once and deleted it. She behaved like I was dead anyway. Now at least I would be alive somewhere else. At 4 days of my trip, I stopped at a gas station in Arizona. I picked up a phone and called my aunt. "Aunt Ruth, I am 8 hours away from you. The room is ready for you. Clean bed sheets, ocean view, and Marcus wants to meet you if you are up to it tomorrow afternoon." My stomach lurched. "Tomorrow, that's too soon, Wendy." Her voice held warmth. Assured certainty. "You have been waiting 3 years for this. 3 days isn't soon. It's finally happened." Something changed when I entered California. The Pacific spread out on my left-hand side, vast and endless and blindingly blue. I rolled down my window and took my first breaths of salty air. I cried, but it wasn't tears of sorrow. They flowed because there was an incredible sense of possibility and potential. I pulled off the road and into the driveway of the Ceramic Cup, Aunt Ruth's cafe and pottery studio. She waited on the porch with her arms outstretched. "Welcome home," she said, and for the first time in 32 years, somewhere truly felt like home. Carmel by the Sea is that sort of place. Cottages with quaint storybook roofs, art galleries around every corner, ocean mist rolling through cypress trees. The whole town felt like a painting someone had dreamt into existence. Aunt Ruth's cafe sat on a quiet street only 2 blocks away from the beach. The Ceramic Cup painted in white letters, blue shutters, and overflowing window boxes with fragrant lavender. In the back half of the building was the pottery studio where she gave classes and sold her work to people visiting for their cups of coffee. My room was upstairs, modest but sunny, with a bed covered by a white quilt, a desk by the window with a view of the Pacific Ocean, and the feeling that I had finally found a place to belong. "You'll work the morning shift," Aunt Ruth told me over that first dinner. 6 to noon, you have the afternoon free. I don't know how to express gratitude for this. Her hand waved impatiently. "Stop thanking me, I just need you to do your job and do it well. You have been given this opportunity, you must seize it. Payment enough." So the next morning I was awake long before the first light of dawn. I put on an apron, not one that could be called the world's best, but one that I had left behind. Canvas with the Ceramic Cup in blue embroidered on it. I learned to make pour-over coffee. People came and left. Locals who knew Aunt Ruth's name. Tourists charmed by homemade scones. I took orders, cleaned up after people finished their coffee, talked to strangers who would have no idea that I'd run away from everything I ever known 5 days earlier. Before noon, I had made $37 in tips. I had smiled more times than I had in months. And at 2 p.m., I had an appointment at Coastal Light Gallery. So I showered, dressed in my best dress, and walked 3 blocks to meet Marcus Coleman. Marcus Coleman did not look like how I pictured him. I expected someone intimidating, slicked back hair, expensive clothes, the kind of gallery owner that would make artists feel small. But the man I saw at Coastal Lake Gallery was a tall and weathered one, his head full of gray hair, and eyes that seemed friendly without effort. He wore linen shirt, rolled up sleeves, and smiled as though he had known me forever. "Wendy Dixon," he greeted me. "Ruth tells me so much about you, but your pictures, they speak for themselves." Then he showed me around the gallery. White walls, natural light, carefully arranged photographs and paintings. This was no casual place. This was art. "I have thoroughly studied your Instagram," Mr. Marcus said. "Your Invisible Women series is extraordinary. You capture a truth that many photographers spend years trying to discover." I didn't know what to say. Nobody had ever spoken to me like that before. This one. Marcus stopped in front of a computer screen with pictures from my series displayed. One particular picture caught his eye. An elderly woman sitting alone on a park bench, waiting for the bus. Her face is a roadmap of lines and dignified composure. It was this photograph which brought me to reach out. There's something in her eyes. Maybe patience or resignation. It's devastating. "She was waiting for a bus that arrived late," I whispered. "She had stood there for 40 minutes. No one helped her." Marcus nodded slowly. "Do you see people, Wendy? I mean, really? See them?" "It's a rare skill, indeed." He faced me, and his following statement was like a key being inserted in the right place. It will comprise of 15 photographs to be opened in 6 weeks. All the expenses for printing, framing, and marketing will be borne by Coastal Light Gallery. You'll get 60% of all sales. I put my signature in a Tuesday afternoon on Marcus's desk. It was sunny outside of the gallery, and the contract seemed rather uneventful. 15 photographs. Opening night set in late August. Coastal Light Gallery covers production costs, printing, framing, marketing materials. I get 60% of all sales revenues, with the gallery retaining 40%. It was standard contract, and I was aware of it. Yet I was shaking hands as I read through the pages. "Just take your time," Marcus said soothingly. "You'll have all you need." It wasn't the financial terms of the contract which caused me tremble, but rather my name written down in an official way, artist Wendy Dixon. Official document stating that my work, my art, had some commercial value, some monetary value. I thought about all those times when I had done all their taxes and had never received any credits for that, when I had organized their parties and got nothing for that. All those times when I spent so much time taking care of their children without getting any recognition. I was thinking of how many times my name hadn't been on something which celebrated my contribution. The exhibition title, Marcus pointed to the end of the contract. Please approve it. We propose calling it Invisible Women, Portraits of the Overlooked. Invisible Women, it is perfect. I put my signature, and Marcus witnessed mine. It was notarized by Marcus's assistant, who signed herself as Julia and stamped the papers with notary stamp. When I got my document back, Marcus wished me luck and congratulations. Congratulations, Wendy. You're officially a represented artist. I left that gallery having that contract pressed against my body. Physical proof that I was worth something, that I was not worthless. For 3 years I have been building my life and my work in secret. Now I was getting ready to reveal my work to the world and make the next steps in becoming an artist. While building my own life in California, my family started realizing consequences of my absence. At least, that's what I learned afterwards, from all those messages and a telephone conversation with my dad. Apparently, Hawaii trip became a failure. Without me there to babysit, Megan and Derek couldn't manage to eat a single adults-only meal. Oliver threw tantrums on the beach because no one remembered to bring his sandcastle bucket, which I never forgot to bring. Sophie got an ear infection on the 3rd day of the trip. No one knew where the pediatrician's number was because it was my job. My mother spent the rest of the vacation complaining that hotel staff were not as attentive as expected. She complained to the hotel's concierge 3 times about the turnover services, and sent her cocktail back 2 times in a row with the following message: "It is not relaxing at all. Who planned this trip?" My father wisely didn't remind her that she had planned the trip herself. Those text messages started to come to me on day 4. "Wendy, where are the kids' medicine logs? Wendy, when does Oliver go to bed? He refuses to sleep. Wendy, there is no kids' menu in this restaurant. What are they going to eat then?" I remained silent. I was too occupied with proof printing, frame choosing, and a journalist from Carmel magazine, interested in interviewing me at Coastal Light Gallery in Monterey. Absence, however, tends to teach people some valuable lessons. And on the 6th day of their Hawaiian trip, Megan found herself on Google, looking at something other than an empty space next to her last name. After 6 weeks of hard work, I stood right in the middle of Coastal Light Gallery, stunned at what was happening. 15 of my pictures, big and beautifully framed in black, covered the walls of the gallery, filled with soft lighting and sound of the string quartet, which, by the way, was Marcus's idea, not mine. In a crisp white jacket, a bartender was pouring some champagne while other guests, mostly local artists, introduced to me by Aunt Ruth, collectors, brought there by Marcus, and journalists from Carmel magazine, who came especially to interview me, were browsing around, checking out my paintings with interest. Price tags on my paintings were giving me a bit of a dizzy feeling, but my navy dress didn't scream for attention. My long blonde hair wasn't in place today, and my makeup included only lipstick. Aunt Ruth was standing at my side, putting a glass of champagne in my hands. "How do you feel?" she asked, smiling brightly at me. Terrified, I answered. "What if nobody will buy anything?" "Well, someone already did," she said, indicating a woman in pearls. "It's Mrs. Peaton. She owns half of the art in Monterey County. She bought that painting for $3,000 for something I had created." "Wendy," Marcus walked up to me, beaming with joy. "I have a surprise for you. The journalist is interested in featuring you next month in Carmel magazine." Cover feature. Magazine cover. My face, my name, my story written on paper. I was almost through with that introduction when the door of the gallery suddenly opened, turning everything upside down. Megan and Derek came inside, looking quite sunburned from their Hawaiian vacation. They looked totally out of place among the guests of my party. Megan was dressed in a flower print sundress, clearly meant for a beach brunch rather than art exhibition. Derek was looking at his phone with a worried expression on his face. They scanned the room, showing the same bewilderment they displayed when confronted with unfamiliar things. Finally, Megan saw me. "Wendy!" She came closer to me with her arms extended, as if she was coming back after a journey she has been postponing forever. "Oh my God, we've been so worried about you." All 50 of the guests looked at us. The string quartet faltered for a second before returning to music. "Megan," I tried keeping my voice steady. "This is quite unexpected. We had to come here," she said, staring at the paintings hanging on the walls. Eyes wide and eager, she continued. "Mom has discovered your Instagram and called everyone trying to find you." Derek followed her into the picture. "Wendy, nice place here." "It's a gallery," I interrupted. "My gallery opening, actually." Megan stared at me, processing everything she saw, paintings hanging on the walls, price tags on the paintings, champagne in her cup, the faces of the people surrounding me. "You did all this?" she asked me, genuinely surprised. "Since when do you do this?" 3 years ago, I answered her. "You never asked how I spent my free time." Ruth appeared next to me, her voice soft and reassuring. In the corner of the room, Marcus observed the situation attentively. Megan moved closer, whispering to me, "Wendy, I have some good news. Number 3 is on the way. I desperately need you to return home. Derek is working a lot lately. My mother is useless in terms of taking care of children. I need you to come back." That was it. No apologies for the things she did or congratulations on my exhibition. Just need once again, always. Always their need. Her words hung in the air between us like a cloud of dust. I need you. How many times have I heard those words before, and how many times have I done whatever was required of me, changed my schedule and sacrificed everything to get in the place which was waiting for me? "Megan," I answered softly, "I'm busy with my opening party." I know, and you've arranged it nicely." "Indeed." Megan waved her hand dismissively at the product of my hard work. "But we'll discuss it tomorrow. Now I need you to tell me when you will be returning." "She will never return here." Ruth's words were sharp as knife. She chose her new home in Miami. Derek moved forward, looking irritated. "With all due respect, Ruth, it's our family matter." "Our family matter," Ruth laughed, a harsh sound. "Are you talking about the same family which refused to invite her to the vacation and treated her as their unpaid help in private emails?" Megan turned pale. All around us, our relatives had stopped pretending to not hear us. I saw a journalist of Caramel magazine making notes rapidly. It was not meant that way." Megan tried to interrupt. "How exactly was it meant?" "It's coming from Mrs. Peaton, the art lover who had bought my photograph just a few moments ago." She pointed to the picture at one of the tables holding her champagne glass. "And also, it's interesting to understand what kind of thoughts you have when you consider her to leave her career for babysitting." It was freezing cold in the gallery suddenly. Megan looked at me, pleading in her eyes. "Wendy, please, let us discuss it somewhere else. Let me pause here for a moment. If your family interrupted your biggest night of your life and wanted to take you back in the situation when you simply didn't exist, what would you answer them? Comment below, please. It's very important for me. And if you want to continue listening to what is going on, press subscribe to receive all the updates without missing anything. And now, let me tell you what I said. No one has never seen me backing off. For 32 years I have done my best to be invisible, accommodated, disappeared. Not this evening. I walked into the center of my own exhibition and raised my voice for everyone to hear. "Megan, as far as I know, you're going to become a mother again. Congratulations on that, genuinely. But I won't be returning to Boston to work as your childcare." "Wendy, am I done?" My voice trembled only slightly. "You may always employ a nanny, or a maid for that matter. Derek earns quite well at Whitmore and Associates, and you are never going to spend money reluctantly. Am I correct? What you cannot afford to do is employ me because I've never been paid before." Megan opened her mouth wide. Around us, I could feel other people's breaths getting faster. "This is not a hobby for me," I emphasized. "This is my profession. For 3 years, I have been working hard while every one of us thought that I didn't have anything better to do. And to be precise, that piece just sold for $3,000. Tonight, 4 pieces, total of $8,000. My photography is worth something. I am worth something, and I'm not going to toss it away to become free help again." Silence. Dead, complete silence. Derek coughed awkwardly. Tears formed in Megan's eyes. "Real ones, I mean," thoughtfully. Then Marcus began clapping. Ruth, my aunt, echoed him. Mrs. Peaton held up her glass of champagne in a silent toast. The applause spread throughout the gallery, not in honor of my work, but of me for standing up to these people. I looked at my sister and said, "I hope you'll have an easy pregnancy, I really do." Then I turned around and left. Gallery door opened again 20 minutes later. I was conversing with the journalist working for Carmel when I saw them, the last person I expected to see. The 2 of them, my parents, appearing at the gallery as if they came straight out of a nightmare. Mother wore her Burberry trench coat reserved for significant occasions. Father stood behind her, wearing a blazer and looking uncomfortable. They scanned the room until they saw me. Patricia Dixon strolled down the gallery as if it belonged to her. Wendy, her voice echoing her words from when I was 8, and I tracked dirt into her pristine house. "We need to talk." The journalist looked intrigued, raising an eyebrow. I said my goodbyes, excusing myself and moving towards my parents to stop them from causing even more drama. "You came all this way." "Of course we did. You disappeared. You abandoned us when we needed you the most." Mom's voice shook with self-righteousness. "Now I find you here playing the role of artist when your sister is pregnant and in trouble." "Megan is pregnant and wealthy," I corrected her. "And she's not in any trouble, Mom. She is inconvenienced." "Don't be nasty, Wendy. No, you're right. It's not the Wendy you knew. Not the Wendy that did everything you asked without questioning." "No, Mom, she's not here anymore." "Mom, she's just used," I interjected firmly. My father cleared his throat. Wendy, let your mother explain herself. I know what she needs to tell me. Dad, I've known it all my life. Family first. Be willing to sacrifice yourself and make personal sacrifices. But don't be selfish. I looked into his eyes. Yes, Dad, because apparently I wasn't a part of the family trip to Hawaii. Right? So are we family or are we not? Neither of them knew how to answer. Hawaii is only one vacation, she snapped. Stop overreacting. Someone has to look after the children. Someone? Who? Why not someone else, not Megan? Because I am single. Because I don't have children of my own. Well then, what could I possibly be doing? I had often wondered if I will ever use those screenshots of my emails. I had even hoped I never would. But as soon as I stepped into my gallery, I knew that some things needed to be said out loud. I pulled out my cell phone. Let me read you something, I said. This email you wrote to Megan prior to the anniversary party. Mom's face paled immediately. Keep Wendy here to watch the kids. She doesn't have anything important to do anyway. It's like having free help. She should be grateful we give her something to do. The gallery was silent again, every eye fixed on me. And Megan replied. I continued. She'll probably feel useful for once. It's kind of sad. Megan, standing several feet away, looked like she wanted the ground to open up and swallow her whole. Wendy, my father began. Where did you find that? I don't care where you found it. I'm not reading this to shame you. I'm saying it because I wanted you to know why I left. You never thought of me as family, you thought of me as staff. And staff has the right to quit. Patricia Dixon's mouth opened and closed several times before she found her voice. For the first time in my life, Patricia Dixon was speechless. Meanwhile, the journalist from Carmel magazine continued to type furiously on her phone. Derek gave in first. This is madness, he exploded, advancing toward us. Wendy, you're making a scene over nothing, and so your family made you come babysit. Such is the fate of families. Everyone can't become an artist after all, and that one pretends. Mrs. Peaton's icy voice cut across the room. I just spent $3,000 on her work. I don't pay such prices for pretend. With a crack in his corporate professionalism, Derek whirled around. May I say with respect, ma'am, you clearly don't know this family, for this is between us? Oh, but actually I know all I need to know. Mrs. Peaton set down her champagne flute. I know that young woman spends years taking photos of those people whom society deems unworthy of notice, and her own family treats her the very same way. A collective shiver ran through the gallery. Now guests were openly gawking. The sort of attention my mother would have given anything for, but never like this. The social capital she had built through decades was crumbling right there before her eyes. This is a misunderstanding. Family jokes out of context. A joke, said another voice. A woman in her 60s with silver hair and a friendly face. I'd bought her a photograph that evening, making a young woman believe she had no duties to fulfill and calling her help for free. What was funny about that? More murmurs, more judgment. My mother made an attempt to redeem herself. Joke, but it's clear enough what she thought of me. Aunt Ruth spoke gently. I think it is high time for you to leave. My mother's face reddened. My father put a hand on her shoulder. Megan was weeping now. Truly humiliated sobs shook her fragile form. Derek remained frozen. He understood now that none of his tactics would work in this particular scenario. Wendy, my mother said with trembling lips, you will regret this. No, I said quietly. I won't. Mother left first, turning back on her heels and dragging my father after her gallery door clicked softly shut, but with such force as if it slammed against the wall. Megan hesitated, mascara running in trails, hugging herself protectively like a child guilty of misconduct. Wendy, with tears in her voice. Didn't know you felt that way. Thought you liked helping. Not at all, I said calmly. I thought you considered that helping. All of you did. Derek put a hand on Megan's shoulder. For once, he was silent. Maybe he was out of arguments. I hope you'll have a healthy pregnancy, I added. I hope your kids will grow up happy, but I won't be their living aunt anymore. If you want me in your life, everything must change. Be equal. Megan nodded, sobbing. I understand. I hoped that she did, but I couldn't force her. They left through the door our parents had used. Collective sigh filled the gallery. Aunt Ruth came up to me, putting her arm around my shoulders. Are you okay? I think so, I laughed tremulously. I've just called off my entire family during my own art show. You have, and you were magnificent. Marcus approached, handing me a brand new glass of champagne. To give you my 2 cents, I've been working with opening nights for 20 years. Never have I witnessed such an event. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? He asked. Let's just say that everyone in here will remember your name forever. And this, Wendy Dixon, is what an artist needs to succeed. As I stood there looking at my own photographs exhibited in my gallery, I did not feel invisible. That night I managed to sell 8 out of 15 pieces, making $14,000. I was due for 60% of my total sale, amounting to $8,400. as our last visitor left the gallery. Not a bad result for an opening night, especially when you factor in all the trouble with the family members. I looked at my numbers. I looked at my earnings for 3 months of working part-time as an accountant. According to Marcus, Mrs. Peaton wished to commission me a new piece. Apparently, the woman owned a vacation house in Big Zesu and wanted me to make some photographs of the coastline. A commission. This is how private collectors usually work. She really appreciated your taste and skill. She wants to see what you can come up with for her landscape. Marcus offered me the business card of her assistant. Please call her next week. Then he added, Susan said she had gathered enough information for a feature article about you. She is considering whether to use you for their cover story next month. Cover story of an actual magazine with my name, my face, and my story. That night, Aunt Ruth helped me to bring the 7 unsold photographs back to my room. 7 unsold photographs was not such a bad result either. I placed my earnings, the first check I had ever earned for my art, on the desk, and took a picture of it. No posting on social networks required. No posting on social networks required. Proof, and never have been. 2 months later, everything got its groove. I woke up every morning at 5 a.m., watched the sunrise over the Pacific through my window, and started my morning ritual by 6 a.m. Morning shift until noon, serving coffee and talking to regulars, gradually getting to know local residents and becoming their known Ruth's niece photographer. I reserved my afternoons for my photography work. Now I rented a studio space 3 blocks away from the cafe. It was large enough to fit my editing devices and a printer. The exhibition in the gallery finished, but Marcus already scheduled a second one for the spring. This time, I was supposed to create a series called Boundaries with photographs of borders and boundaries, both geographical and personal. It felt quite fitting. The article came out in October. I became a front-page story of Caramel magazine under the headline, The Artist Who Learned to See Herself. The article talked about me and my journey, obviously edited with all the names being omitted to protect the innocent and the guilty alike. However, the essence of the story remained intact. All those invisible girls who had become helpers in the families reached out to me, sharing stories similar to mine. I thought I was the only one. You gave me the permission to break away from the family. Thank you for giving me hope that I can change something. The same went for other family members. In the end, Megan reached out to me after the birth of her child, sending a picture of their daughter, a girl named Charlotte. I congratulated her and sent a gift card. I never got a message back from them. My parents texted me once. I didn't bother replying. She called, leaving a voicemail message to see if I'd worked through this issue. I erased her message. My father shocked me because his email came on a Tuesday evening in only 3 sentences. Wendy, I have seen the magazine. I am proud of you. That one I kept. Today, I sit in my studio facing out at the Pacific Ocean. The Canon camera I bought from that pawn shop still rests on my shelf, worn but functioning. Next to it sits another model. This one bought with money I've made from selling my art. They're both important. One told me I had something to say, the other shows that people were listening. Next month, I have another exhibition. Boundaries. 15 photographs capturing the line between family and identity, between obligation and abuse, between love and control. I think they might be my best work. Aunt Ruth brings coffee every morning along with an analysis of her favorite pieces. Marcus calls every week with more information on potential buyers and galleries. I've even gotten requests from the regulars at the ceramic shop to be seated by the window where I can edit photos in between customers. I am not rich. I am not famous, but I am known, and that makes me happy. As for my family, they remain estranged, existing at a distance. Christmas cards, occasional text messages about birthdays, brief updates about the children, and nothing else. Civil, detached, better than they used to be. But still, I've not been to Boston since leaving. I'm sure I'll go someday, but not as a servant. Recently, I dug through my old photographs and found one from several years ago. A self-portrait I took in the mirror of my Boston apartment. I remembered that girl as tired, defeated. She was always waiting for someone else to give her permission to exist. I deleted that photograph. She was dead. In her place is someone stronger, taking up room, creating art, refusing to say yes until she meant it, speaking her truth when asked. She is free. That is the real story here, not vengeance, not victory, just liberation. From a psychological point of view, the narrative Wendy provides is that of parentification, or a scenario in which the youngest child in a family takes on adult-like responsibilities without acknowledgement and reciprocation. In addition to that, Wendy fulfilled the role of a scapegoat, or a family member whose needs and wants are continually subordinated to those of a golden child, Megan, who has all the resources and attention she could want. And this is what you need to know. Setting boundaries is neither betrayal nor abandonment. Sometimes it's necessary because you cannot pour from an empty cup, and those people who care for you will understand. If your experience is similar to Wendy's, remember that your value as a person comes from who you are and not what you can do for other people. You are worthy simply because you are. It's always been there, and sometimes the greatest courage requires walking away. Creating your own world is powerful enough in its silence.